Good morning, good evening, good night, good time of day, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Welcome back to the Lambda Log. This is week 3, day 1, 18th of May, 2026. We started off with a classic little warm-up in EO3, and then we moved straight into accents. I got to school at like 8:20, solid. In accents, we started by circling up and talking about our weekends. We began to review a review of Celtic accents. And so there is Ulster English, which is Northern Ireland. And that's something to keep in mind. The south side of Dublin is a more affluent area. And so it's typically got a more posh accent. A standard accent doesn't mean that it's most widespread or it's most common. It's more typically a posh accent or those who are from a place who haven't lived there very long. So it's like what accent markers do you like hold on to when you leave a place? Much more like that. So Scots who spoke Gaelic languages have a softer accent because they were taught by the English. And so that like heavy kind of Scottish where it's quite a lot like this. That's much more like a Glasgow or a dial or an accent where they didn't speak Gaelic languages as their first language. And then Welsh and Cornish are also Celtic language accents. So we listened to some examples of these accents, and we took some notes on what stood out to us. And these notes are going to be kind of hard to decipher because I just like wrote down words that were interesting to me, but I don't remember exactly how all of them were done. So we started with a Glaswegian accent, and the I is like an eh. So say the that lexical group, and then you get earlier, do. There's a lot of glottalization with the T, so much so that when the word to is not stressed, you'll get a glottal even on that. So like, where you want to go, where do you want to go, go, yeah. Ye is for you, tricky, ground, daughters, so that glottal T, doing, about, cut, certain, humble. It gets a little of that W sound. The cat and the price vowels are very important. Use, they have that S on the use. R is not as strong as I was expecting. It's not rolled a lot. It's just the tap. Then we listened to a lowland Scottish accent, like what's known as a border accent. They said ability. Still has that dark L. And you is more forward. Whatever. Almost dropped the R into the back. Whatever. Found. Don't. And the I was slightly in it. It wasn't as much as the Glaswegian, like the tricky. It's typically helpful to measure accents against your own, right? Then we listen to some Irish accents. And the R's are a great indicator for the regions in Scotland. So we listened to Brendan Gleeson first from Dublin. He said the life, the thing is 3 years instead of 3 years. Was his like thinking word. Turn. And instead of and, it almost had a T. Adjustments. Terms. But I don't know. You're utterly. And then we listened to Barry Keoghan, who's also from Dublin. He said the doctors instead of the tough time cut. He said cut instead of cut. Yeah, I got a cut on my arm. Therapist, Um, what? What you mean? What you mean? These instead of these. I taught so. I taught so. So not even getting that T at the end. And then a northern Dublin was from Finglas is what it sounded like. It's a kind of a working class Ireland. Ireland. I used to think it was like Ireland, but that's really like leprechaun-y and not right. Ireland. Da, da thing, for dad. Da, me dad and me mom. Rough. It's rough. Da, dot. Like instead of that, da. Da guy, young guy, young. And R. And then Wicklow is South Dublin. It's more middle class. He said little, small, commuter, now, facilities, everything, lovely. It was more nasal. And then Cork, not the strongest, but it's not from Cork City. Cork City is the strongest of the Cork accents. About North, part, five, me father. Little. They didn't have as much glottalizations in the T's, so little. Dare. Skewl for school. London. And then we listened to Nicola Coughlan, who's from Galway. It was musical. Go, that splashy T. It, part, mad. So. The goat vowel is really important there. Not really good at it yet. Then the Ulster, Northern Ireland. And this was Carl Frampton from Belfast. He said raven, instead of raving, raven. Good. Name, my name. Impress. Cotton stuff. Cotton. It's rhythmic. Rhythmic. Then Derry is a mid-Ulster. We listened to Saoirse Monica Jackson. Town, no. The lottery. Didn't have that T. Lottery, that kind of D. Around. Cathedral. The crack. Younger. Everybody. The bright. Oh, I think that was because the accent's bright. Fifth. Anniversary. And then Scottish and Irish are both rhotic R's, so they pronounce all their R's. And the Irish is much more lifted and closed strut vowel, and Scottish is like a little more similar to the SSB strut vowel. A lot of people think it's not, but it's that strut. Ulster, Irish, and Republic Irish, there's a musicality, a tang, and nasality, stronger R's. Then we listen to some Welsh. Then we had South Wales, and I'm not really good at South Wales, but there's that little, had those glottal T's, and then the D at the end was kind of T-ish, and outside, entire, the entire, and so instead of entire, closest, the world, splashy T's. I'm not great at it yet. Then there another one by South Wales, a second example. That instead of that. Secondary. Town. That's what I wrote. Nice. They kind of lean on those consonants more. Nice. Go. Fortunate. Football. It's a musical. Someone in a class pointed out that it's got almost an Indian kind of sound to it, and that's a lot in the consonants. It's swinging and holding on to those consonants. It's non-rhotic because you don't pronounce all the R's. And then North Wales, this was Becca, whose Welsh was her first language. She said, that important. time. Year old, tap the R's. Great, part, 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 pot, pot. I don't remember. Something, working on it. And then North Wales is close to Liverpool, so that's why you find some similarities there. And then Liverpool is known as like a Scouse accent. That comes from lapscouse, which is a soup. That's where Liverpool gets its name. Then we had a little break, a little 4-minute break. Then we got into our individual work. And then we're going on a sound hunt. The first approach is to listen to the sounds with interesting words and write down what words are interesting to you. That's typically how I do it. The second approach is to pick a specific vowel sound and listen out for it. So for Dublin, price, the price vowel, the start vowel, and the goat vowel, and then the TH and T's. With Cockney, I wrote down a lot of them, a lot of what people brought up. Cockney, the mouth vowel, face, price, goat. Russian, listen to the L's and the R's, the goat and the trap. L, the very dark L, and those rolled and tapped R's. And the goat and the trap. Belfast is the mouth and the price, and the face, and the R's, and the L's. And then RP is the goat and the diphthong, especially to really relish in those diphthongs. And then the T's. And then Cornish is the mouth and the price. I don't know how they do price. The rotisserie? Is that what I said? Rotisserie, yeah. Not rotisserie, like the chicken. Except for I made that joke more than once. The bath vowel. How do they say bath? Instead of bath, bath. L, palm. It's a working class. It's older. That's where I'll find it the most. Listen for fishing industry things. And then when I was listening to my example, I wrote down Ireland, want, not, hold on to the R's, ting, done, sooth. I wrote that with a question mark. The mouth vowel. I need to work on the mouth vowel. The mouth vowel. Substance. So, darling, ride, boy, a lot, da, love, omega, the omega. And then Jess's approach to text is if you feel confident to have a go, first read for comprehension in your own accent. Second, watercolor wash. So not specifically, but just go over it with a type that you have. And then working out where the sounds are, like specifically if it's a TH or a T or the mouth or whatever it is, and then you add those on top of each other. So we received the rainbow passage to practice. And we had about 10 minutes to practice that. I don't know yet. It's a much better way to approach text, saying like, oh, I don't know this yet, but I know what I don't know. So like, I don't know yet. Then you know what you don't know, and then you don't know. Or you go into I do know, I think. And then when doing a wash, circle the parts that are tricky and focus on small seconds. 30 seconds of can contain multitudes. And then our homework is to do as much copying as we can with a 30-second clip and continuing that wash of the text. I'll read to you the text. This is going to be fun and not at all embarrassing. Goodbye. I can't be a rainbow passage. Here we go. I'll just read you a bit of it, a little section. Hopefully that wasn't abhorrently loud. When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, They act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colours. Days take the shape of a long, round arch, with its path high above and its two ends apparently beyond the horizon. There is, according to legend, a boiling point pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it. When a man looks for something beyond his reach, his friends say he is looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Throughout the centuries, people have explained the rainbow in various ways. Some have accepted it as a miracle without physical explanation. To the Hebrews, it was a token that there would be no more universal floods. The Greeks used to imagine that it was a sign from the gods to foretell war or heavy rain. The Norsemen considered the rainbow as a bridge over which the gods passed from the earth to their homes in the sky. Others have tried to explain the phenomenon physically. Aristotle thought that the rainbow was caused by reflection of the sun's rays by the sun's rays by the rain. Since then, physicists have found that it is not reflection but refraction by the raindrops which cause, and so on and so forth. That's a little bit of it. That was actually the majority of it. Um, but yeah, so um, yeah. Then after that, we had lunch. So after lunch, we had clown with Eddie. Um, and what we did first is we just had a little introduction, and then we changed into our clown costume pretty immediately. A few have developed a little bit, but they're mostly the same. And then we walked the space, amplifying movements and interactions with people. So like, how do you like, oh, do them bigger, or walk in this way, or use your back body, or whatever it is. And so just amplifying that physical. And then we did musical chairs. Well, first, as we were walking around, we paired up with somebody, and then we had a musical chairs where we just had a line of chairs alternating which ways they were facing. So one was facing this way, one was facing that way, and vice versa. But you had to do it with your partner, but sit on the lap of your partner. My partner and I got up first, so not too good at it. um, but it was fun. And then we lined up our seats and we jumped right into our activity of one person going outside and trying to find that game with the audience. So the first person who went first, his clown costume is like this crop top, hot pink Barbie shirt with a coat wrapped around his waist and really short shorts. I think they're also pink. And then he wore a sports bra on his head. Um, and it started out with just this breath, and then he noticed somebody, and he was kind of flirted with this person, and then um, the breath turned into like this kind of sound, and then he became this baby dragon, and then he um, I don't know what that says, and then he was being fed, um, and and then he started like hacking up his hairball, and then he was flicking his tail, and then that moved into dancing, and then he danced to "I'm a Barbie Girl," and he was like trying to find his Ken, and then um and then he was a bad dancer, and Ari asked, "Oh, is Barbie flexible?" And so he like tried to go down into the splits, and it was not very flexible. And he's like, "That's your new body." And so he was a broken baby dragon, and then went back to the dragon, and then um, and then asked if he was speaking poetry, and then he gave poetry to somebody. But he was so good. He's done a lot of improv, and so he's so good at doing callbacks and bringing back certain things. So he did the like flirting thing to that one person over and over again, and then he did the whoosh of whipping the tail over and over again, and then the that, and he just had these callbacks, and it was so clean, it was great. Um, the notes that Eddie gave us after watching it was not to rush, and that he's had some really lovely moments and great games, but don't rush through it. Everything needs to be given to the audience, and just breathe and commit. Then another person went, and the breath was fast, and the something and then connected with the audience and amplify that, and then turned into like this plie, and then at the bottom of the plie in this like frog pose with her legs up and like down, her arms down. She's like, that's your new body. And then new sound, and then she became like this cowboy sheriff. And then and then he was feeling that she was too nice and didn't have the authority, and he was pushing her to correct people, and then to use words, and then to swear, and and she was like, I don't want to swear at just random people. He's like, swear at me. And he's like, no, I like it. Let me do it. And so she's like, well, I don't even know that many swears. And then she just listed them off, and then started cursing him out. And the notes, shout out to Enrage. The notes that she we got with her was the mischievous part of us opens doors. Don't hold yourself back. We laugh at what we relate to, not necessarily at someone's pain, but with their struggle. There was one point where she went down and her like knee popped. It was like, oh, and we laughed because it was relatable and understandable. And then the next person went, and Eddie asked her to give him a note, la ba, and then a second one, ba la, and then a third one, ba la ka, and then more, and then to sing a song, and then make it more avant-garde, and then we're missing a dance, and then make it South American, and then now translate it into Spanish, and now do it in Italian, ba la la ka. And as it progressed and as it went on, it was so funny. It was so good. She's great. These last two people, I think, are the best clowns, and well, of the students I've seen. I think they're just so consistent, so good. Um, and Eddie said to really enjoy the computer crash moment. Your brain doesn't have any idea what to do because something comes out, and it's great to feel like you're failing and to play with it. Use those. And then and then the last person, her clown costume are like these running shorts with her bikini bottom over them, and then a long black, is it black, well, some dark t-shirt that's fitted with the arms stuffed with something, so it looks like muscles, like kind of like that. And then tights over her head tied around in a bow, and then the bikini top at the top with like the strings down. Oh, and gloves with the fur trim. And so she she just had all this like gyrating and thrusting and twerking. Um, and so Ari kept reminding people not to look at him, but to focus on others, and played with turning around, and then her like the bikini straps, the little ties flapped, and then it was like ah, and found a game out of that. And then um, Ari asked if she was a professional twerker. Yeah. Um, and then so he put on some music, and it wasn't a sexual thing at all. It was just so goofy. It's like if a child twerked, but just was just like shaking their butt. You're just like, that's so endearing. And then he was like, make it more avant-garde. And so she like got on her head and picked different poses and did these different things and make it less traditional. And then um and then to find this balance, and then it became that she's a boxer and a martial artist. And then she was like pow pow pow, and then kickboxing and things. And then that turned into a chant. Um and she was working off that. She was like, everybody fears me. Everybody's scared. Everybody fears me. Everybody's scared. Be prepared. Everybody fears me. Call your mom. Call your dad. Everybody fears me. Call Barbara. Call Kevin. Um, and it was so funny. It was just a delight and a half. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the kind of last notes we had on this was find the creature. Not creature, creative physical flow. Just let it link together and keep flowing and going. Don't react, don't retreat. Stay forward with the audience. We want to interact and connect. You don't have to touch them, but you can be with them. And then the clown needs to be super sensitive to the audience and all of their reactions. Don't miss a moment. Think of kids who play with cruelty, death, and malice, right? But it's all to connect. Yeah, it was a joy. Then we had a 30-minute break, and then we jumped into our French scenes. And this day is so long. So we warmed up by walking around as ourselves, and then we received like different intentions to see and interact with others. And so the first thing was just like to walk around, notice each other, smile, wink, nod, acknowledge, and then address people as if they were work friends. Right? Yeah, it's like, oh, you're just my colleague. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, yeah. How was your weekend? Things like that. And then the next was a hated neighbor. It's like, what do you do? It's like, hi, yeah, Jeff. Hey, or even, hi, how are you? Yeah, good. That kind of stuff. And then it was a friend from grade school who you haven't seen for years. And it's like, I'm so excited to see you. Ah. And then you try to make eye contact and non-verbally communicate that you're going to like go down, jump, and say, ha, at the same way. So you're synchronized. So, huh, or ah, I can't remember exactly the word. I think I wrote ah, but I think it was ha. And I was pretty good at that. Just kind of like lowering it the same way and doing it. And then we watched the scenes and focused on how we would give notes so that we're always active participants in the scene. And Marianne says how that's really important to do that whenever you're seeing a show. Like, how would you change things? How would you make it more clear? What didn't work? What did work? And so the way to keep notes and focus on improvements is, one, keep it short. Okay, there's not a lot of time. Two, focus on clarity, right? And the essentiality of something. Is something essential? Is it clear? Right? You can do a suggestion or an offer. It's like, I had an idea here. What about that? Take it or leave it. And then, is your note workable, or is it just like, you suck? That doesn't help anyone. Okay, why? What isn't working? And then something I've learned previously is focus on your observations as well. And that kind of leads into the clarity. It's like, okay, as an audience member, I don't need to be educated or anything to understand and enjoy. So in the same sense, like, everyone in the audience is able to be a critic to some extent because it's for them. And if they don't get it, then something isn't working, right? And if the whole audience is all uneducated and no one gets it, well, it's not that you're too smart for them. No, it's that you're not clear enough, right? And so first we did the scene from Les Cides, and some of the notes I just had was careful with devoicing at the sensitive parts, physicalize some of the intentions. It got a little stagnant and a little, yeah, just stagnate is a great way to put it. And then connect breath to the intent. There were some like disconnected breaths or breaths that felt, I don't know, there was just some disconnection. And then scenes only work if you totally surrender to the full extent of the given circumstances. When establishing plot and introducing characters, it's important to take your time. If you are delivering a speech and the audience knows much more like where something is going, then you can get lost in the language and let it flow much more. But cherish the tops of your scenes always, because the tops is where a lot of information, a lot of things are held. Then we had the Don Juan scene, Don Juan, um, and I wrote like, could it be more planted? And some of these notes are other things that people shared as well, but I wrote some, and then I wrote what some other people said. But could it be more planted? Um, the second ending was more specific and impactful. They had two versions of the ending that they were trying to decide between, and then find the pauses to tell the story more clearly, right? Just to let those reactions set in and let things be understood, and then be genuine in flirtation. So it's not just humor or it's not pushing women away, right? Don Juan is the most charming man alive. And then we watched a little chunk of Berenice, and it was nice playing with distance that I enjoyed. Nice seeing the mask form, and then are there dials? Can you up things more here and let it show here more? And then we did an exercise where two people held each one of them back, and they were trying to get to each other, but they couldn't. And then we let them go, and then playing with that elasticity. Kind of like there was this rubber band between them that they desperately want to be closer together, but they know they can't be. And then we watched the scene from Phèdre, and find the specificity in the tactics. It was fading a little into a singular emotion or tone in some points. How does that love affect your feelings towards the words? Needs to take more time on certain things, because just flowing through the information, it gets lost, it becomes a wash, and I think that will also help the specificity. And then play with distance and stillness, and specificity of place will help bring some clarity. Then the misanthrope, what are the intentions? Maybe more seduction from the misanthrope and less annoyance. Does she have an attraction for him? And sexiness comes from a charmingness and a likability, not just from confidence, right? You can be confident and uncomfortable, or confident and weird. And then the problem with the inclination with the guy playing the misanthrope is that he goes for the character, is that he goes further than expected, and that's where there's the tension. And then we went last, and we need to find a lot of these push and pull moments with the stick to establish these bits at the beginning, switching focuses and seeing where who we should focus on what point, and not like detract from those moments. And then switching focus and seeing yeah, I just said that. And then definitive. Oh, I want to definitively emphasize my sickness. I want to find little things that, like, I'm always checking, like, is my throat okay? Is my heart okay? Are my organs? Am I cold? Am I these things? Just to kind of bring that back into my body and make it more realistic, and not just be like "Wah, wah, 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 wah," the whole time. And then that was the end of our skills classes. Well, that's not true. We had two more things. Of course, this day did not end. Next, we had I had my combat fight night work with. I'm working with Felipe. Got permission to talk about him. And at the end of this video, I'll attach our videos that we took of learning. We are working with broadsword and buckle. Kind of things to, we went through the whole section that's been choreographed, and I mean, we need to practice it. But my arm is sore today from it. But things to keep in mind is that the broadsword's like not super heavy, but not light. And so you need to let it carry you instead of forcing it around, because then you're going to just tire yourself out. So use the weight of it. And then it's very much like saber, where you want to attack and defend with the blunt, with the edge of the blade, but only the tip of the blade is sharp. So like the last 5 inches, 4 inches or so would be sharp, and then the tip. The rest is almost like a spear. So you use the sword sometimes like this. It's a one-handed broadsword. So you can use it like this. Sometimes you turn it around and use like a hammer or an axe. And so like grabbing the blade is not abnormal. It was very typical. And you'll see more of that choreography there, but it's going to be super fun. And then the buckle is just a little like dinner plate sized shield that you can smack the sword away and attack with, and you're doing this like the whole time. It's really sick. And then the defenses are the same as saber. 1, 2, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sloping 5, sloping 6. And then also you can do it this way because you can hold the blade. But yeah, and we did that for an hour and a half. And then we jumped into our singing technique, the class we had last term, like once every 4 weeks, which I totally forgot about, which is a good thing that I got to. I checked my schedule early and I was like, oh, I'll just work on that one song that they just told me to, Goodbye from Catch Me If You Can, because I want to be able to consistently hit that last note and just be really solid with it. Our new teacher is Christina Licatalosi. And yeah, and it was with my same group, and it was delightful. I asked her what she would recommend to have in like a rep book. And she said, like, you can have multiple different songs, but the 6 that you should have ready are a contemporary musical theater ballad, a contemporary musical theater comedic or up tempo, a golden age ballad, and then maybe a golden age comedic or up tempo, and then a pop song, and then optional is like a rock country folk song. It's one of those. But really with the pop song is all you'll need, and then you can just like treat it differently. I worked on the ending of Goodbye, and I just focused on like being consistent with that B flat. And then the 3 things that seem to help is I need to keep everything leading up to it as light. And so that all those 3 goodbyes, goodbye, 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 whatever it is that really forward. I don't want to do it because it is 7 in the morning. Good, not for me, but for my roommates. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Like that, have the placement set for those other 2, though it's not as necessary, because if I have to go like goodbye, goodbye, like kind of flip into it, then I'll lose it. And then keep it soft, don't feel the need to push it all. And then stay on the rhythm. That was just my own personal struggle a little bit. And then that took us into like 9:10. And so I got to school at like 8:40 or even earlier. I don't know. I got there so early, and it was just it was a long day, but we endured and we did it. So that was the lovely Monday, the 18th of May. I also been working on my my audition scene, which is from Private Lies, and everybody was talking about doing an accent, so I guess I will do an accent too. I was thinking just not to. because I've heard that before. It's just like don't do an accent in an audition. But I think the idea is don't do a bad accent in an audition. And so since it's No Coward and it's private lives, it makes sense to do kind of a heightened RP. And so I will do my best to talk about the blue shadows on white snow, cleanness beyond belief, high above everything in the world, how beautiful it was. And so on and so forth. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.
In your own time, nice and steady. Swipe. Cut across. Swing. Four. Boom. That's it. Hit. Head. Kick. And down. Good. All right.
Just that section from the floor.
Just that section, please. Section 2. So from the knee.
So yeah. And then
Throw. Shoulder. Traverse. Head cut. Traverse. Yeah. Cut to the left shoulder, step back then. And same one again. That's it. Capture and cut to the right. Punch. Head. Sloping head.
Yep, sloping head.
That's it.
Yep.
Right shoulder. Buckler. Turn.
Yep.
Good. Throw. Thrust. Yep.
The buckler.
Tackle.
Tackle.
Sweep. Hammer throw. Bam. That's it. 3,000 for the moves. And chop down, roll away. And in. Hook. Push forward. Step away. Push with a buckler. Into the head cut. Roll baseball bat swing. Coming through into that. Good.